Hey guys, welcome to our speaker spotlight for Skill with Stability. And today matters if you're building a business you actually want to keep or maybe eventually sell. At Skill with Stability, we believe growth should never cost your faith, your family, your health, or your peace. We're here to help you build something strong, something that lasts, something that you're actually proud of when it's all said and done. And now here's the reality. Most business owners are chasing revenue, but they're never being taught how to build real value. And one day, whether you plan it, whether we want it or not, we will exit, right? That's the reality. So the question becomes, will it be on your terms? And what you're building, is it something that that's actually going to outlast you when you're gone? And I know this is kind of like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I'm ready to talk about this, but it's something that we have to prepare ourselves as business owners. And this is the whole focus on building something stable, right? So that's why I'm excited to have this conversation. Ben, how are you doing?
Doing really good. Thanks for asking, Carrie.
I'm really excited for you to guide us on this. You have not one, but two breakout sessions, which I think you're the only speaker that has that. I'm really excited. You're going to really go in two very, I think, complementary topics in many ways, but really important. To share a little bit about your background, you're a multi-business owner who not only builds companies, but you actually buy them as well. So you understand what actually makes a business valuable in the real world, not just on paper. And the sessions that you're going to be leading are one called Scale to Sell or Stay, the Silver Tsunami Playbook for Owners. I'm really curious about what the tsunami is and just for you to share more. And the second session that you're going to have is King, Priest, and Warriors, a framework to build strong companies, which I am also like, I feel like that is, one of the biggest points that we want to convey here at Skill and Stability. So I'm really excited for that. But before we go into all these questions, can you share a little bit about your background? What has led you, what experience have you had that has led you to this being your focus today?
So, grew up in a great world of military, driving around everywhere, been to so many countries, and then when went to college, fell in love with Jesus, and became a pastor. So, incredible stories. Was a pastor for 20 plus years of, I like to think, is some of the coolest churches in America. But when we exited from there, the Lord told us to step out and to minister a little bit differently. And so we moved to Arkansas, bought a mountain here in Arkansas, and started from scratch. And I learned very quickly that there was a lot to learn. Pastoring for 20 years can give you a great heart and a great hunger for the Lord, but there's more to it. And so that's kind of how I got into all of this, was about 6 years ago when we jumped into business ownership, business coaching, family coaching. But probably the best thing to know about me is not just the background, but married to a wonderful woman, and I've got 9 incredible kids who 3 of them are business owners now, and just practicing this at home and just really just trying to shape our communities through Christ, but through business and influencing economy and influencing relationships. And there's just something special about just having that kind of a passion for your community, for the people who work for you, just business in general. It's pretty amazing.
Well, 9 kids and 3 being in entrepreneurship. I feel like you're going through like so many deep waters there that I definitely want to learn more about that, because we only have 2 yet. I feel like, that's going to be an interesting
incredible. It's incredible learning what they love and helping them unlock the ability to do it. And that's kind of even what drew me into talking through business owners, because I'm in a position where we're purchasing businesses. Obviously, I coach businesses, and you'd mentioned the Silver Tsunami and what that is. It's a Harvard Business Review article that came out. And actually, it gets talked about a lot now. But basically, over 70% of current business owners are going to be at retirement age or are at retirement age over the next 10 years. Which means that there is a mass exodus. They're guesstimating between 80 and $120 trillion worth of businesses that are going to change hands. And when most of these owners, and this is where my heart went out to businesses I coach, I've got 15 to 20 companies I coach on a regular basis. And a lot of them are dealing with the fact that 80% of their personal wealth is in their businesses. And when you look at, again, numbers all over the place, 60 to 70% of businesses that go for sale will never sell because they just haven't worked on the right stuff. They've not set their business up in a way that someone else could come in and run it. And that's what became really passionate for me as a business coach, because a lot of coaches will use a system. There's great systems out there, but we'll use a system to help them feel better about their company. But we're not really developing the company in a way that the company owner could ever exit, or a lead team member could take advantage of it in a way that they could step in ownership or owning better parts of the company. And so we just restructured business coaching altogether, create our own system, our own internal operating system. And what we want to do across these 2 sessions is kind of talk about both those in different ways. One is from this getting ready to sell, because we all exit, like you just said, when you start off, we all exit at some point on purpose or by life's design.
Yeah.
And so us stewarding that really well, I think, is a biblical principle that we want to lean on. How do we steward it so that we're doing our part? But when you steward something, something powerful happens. You actually enjoy it more. You find yourself having more fun doing it. Your team has more fun doing it. And so that first session about getting ready to sell is really more about finding independence as a business owner, really developing it in a way that when it does come time, you're getting the most out of what God put in your hands to steward. So that's kind of what that main one's about.
I love that. I'm curious of some of your thoughts surrounding buyers, and because one thing is to prepare it as the owner of the business and being a good steward. You've also like been on the other side, right? Of like somebody that's looking into a company and understanding the value. What's something buyers care deeply about that most business owners completely overlook when they're running their businesses and they're like focusing on the growth of it instead of becoming an actually valuable asset?
Yeah, I mean, as a purchaser, you're looking at how risky the company is. And most business owners, they're running it for the bottom line. And sometimes we make the wrong decisions. We put the wrong things in front of the other things because the cart before the horse. We'll focus so much on profitability, but the owner is so ingrained in the business that if I go to purchase that business and the owner is the majority of the passion, the majority of the work, the majority of the decisions, I won't buy the business because now I have to replace the owner with who the owner is instead of replacing a job function. And so really teaching owners and executive team members how to really define their roles and their seats in a way so that somebody else could come in, and it de-risks the company incredibly. It sets you up for better purchasing. It also gives you a higher valuation, which is really the name of the game. Because one company may make $3 million in net profit and another company makes $3 million in net profit. This company, because they have the systems in place, will sell for 24, 25 million. This company with 3 million in profit may not sell at all. And all because of the systems and having the right things in place, the right stuff to work on.
So going a little bit more in depth into that, because I think you made a really good point. There's a difference between something that's sellable and something that's successful, right? Successful, like
Correct.
You can have a 3 million net worth, company that it's not sellable. And that is something that not a lot of people are thinking about as we're building, because we're so focused again in this rat race, just like going on growth. What makes a business sellable versus just successful?
It really has to do with, there's several things, but I'll pick on 2. One is owner independence. The better that we support the owner through having the systems in place, part 2 is systems, that having those 2 things in place really is what gets you across the first finish line. Now there's lots of stuff. In fact, we have a whole valuation assessment that we built around somewhere around 60, 70,000 business exits that we're giving away at the session for business owners to take. And someone will literally sit down with you after the summit and actually walk you through what that looks like and what you can work on and give you tangible things. Because we're passionate about this. I want Christian business owners to rule the world. So
Love it. And we're on the same boat. Um, as you're talking about going back into the whole, silver tsunami, and everything that's about to be happening, um, who's positioned to win in this shift? Like, a lot of like business owners that are like, okay, I am part of this. I'm like literally attending the event, and I am the silver tsunami. Maybe they're like actually, thinking about like who's gonna follow up with the business afterwards. Like, so what are your thoughts? Who's positioned to win in this shift, and who's going to get left behind of those businesses?
So again, owner independence, but also systems in the right place. When you have systems in place, you have an opportunity to, and I'm seeing my business owners do this right now, to either exit, and take advantage of where the market is right now, as far as they are the highest health companies in the sense that they're on their valuation scores, they're hitting 70, 80%. They're getting the top multiple. I mean, they're exiting at the multiple where it just makes so much sense to do it. Or because they're so healthy, because the owner has time, he has his life back, the executive team, they're so clear in what they're doing and what direction they're going. Now I'm seeing business owners, we're actually walking for business owners right now through purchasing other companies. So they're in both positions because they are scalable and they can do acquisitions because they already have the systems in place. They can pick up some of these companies that are unsellable, 30%, 40% in health. They're getting a company that they themselves are worth 8 or 9x. They're buying companies for 2 and 3x. And they're immediately getting the synergy of that. They're immediately getting the additional 4 or 5x as they implement their systems in there. And that is just, it's a beautiful way. Again, I want to give Christian business owners an unfair advantage in our world. And what a beautiful way of doing it.
Yeah, I love the passion with, how you're talking about this, and how you're wanting to like really set up Christian business owners to have the success that we all want them to have. I'm sure that as you're working with these business owners, in your coaching and your consulting and supporting them in that growth, you're often seeing things that, man, they get so wrong, even with the best intentions of growth, they're getting so wrong. What are some of the things that you're seeing that were, this business owners are maybe wasting time, energy, efforts on things that don't actually move that valuation at all? I'm curious if you're seeing people like just they have they have maybe the idea, the goal, but they're just like really missing the mark, and you're able to like reset them in the right track.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have like 65 million things in my head.
Big
Let's see.
one.
One
This
is,
is a big
well,
one.
yeah, one has to do with people. Um, when you don't have a system in place that helps people self-identify where they are in the company, then it's either really hard to let them go, or it's really hard for them to realize they need to go. And people are such a big part. We got to love people. We have to walk in a way that we're honoring them. And sometimes we just avoid. And then it gets to the point of frustration. Now it's either they're destroying the company or we're just destroyed on the inside because we have to let go of them. And so I think people's a big component of it. Again, I think that business owners focus a lot on today's success and not necessarily prioritizing what's really important. I mean, Steve Covey talks about rocks, and rocks are a common way of talking about goals, but it's really all about, it doesn't add more time. And that's one of the things about what we really talk about when it comes to building a system within a business. It actually gives you more time. The homework assignments are small. It's just reprioritizing what we put in front of us first. And so, yeah, I think those two things are probably a big part of it. I think a third thing, which kind of ties into the next session that we're doing there, is that we end up sacrificing something that we shouldn't sacrifice. I kind of look at our lives as people as running in 3 different lanes. One is our stewardship of the skills and talents and finances and stuff that we have. And that's kind of the king side. King's priest war is what we call it, really targeted towards just businessmen who are doing this. But the king side is that, how do I own the stuff that I have and the responsibility I have in a way that produces fruit, right? Am I the guy with with 5 talents, I'm the guy, who's actually doing something with it. And the Lord comes back and says, man, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Let me give you more. Or am I the guy that's just hiding it? And so what am I doing with that side of my life? Another leg of the stool would be like your physical health. Too many of us, I know for me, when I came fresh out of ministry, I'm having to learn so much to open up my own business. We launched 2 businesses. We're also launching a ministry. We're remodeling stuff. And I had something sacrificed. And I wasn't going to sacrifice the way I'm going to provide for my family. I wasn't going to sacrifice the pre-side of my life, which is my relationship with my wife and my kids and my Lord. So that has to be a priority. The third leg is the physical side, the warrior side. Yeah. And I just let that fall apart. And I quickly went from about 225 pounds to 298 pounds. I probably broke 300, but I was afraid to get on the scale. But my wife says to me one day, she literally says, she's like, you are the most disciplined man that I know in every area of your life. God, finances, ministry, your family, your marriage, all these areas, except you really suck at the physical. And she just was so, we have a relationship. She was so blunt with me. And it was just like, actually, she probably used the word suck. That's probably my word. But basically, she's like, discipline all these areas except your body. Yeah. And I remember when she told me, I need you to be around. And so we've just started modeling our life around those 3 lanes of the King's lane of I have to steward well for the Lord, the things that he's given me to steward, whether it's business, whether it's investments, whether it's the property that he's given us. Like, it's my job to be obedient in those areas to the Lord, to honor him and to steward it. And he can bless that, right? And then the other piece is me walking down the lane of being a priest of my own home. I have to steward my relationship with the Lord, my relationship with my wife, and my relationship with my children. Most important things in my life, even more than the king side. And then if both those things are great, I still have to focus on being around. And it's hard to be a good business owner or a good dad if physically I'm not taking care of what I'm doing. And it's not always easy. I've done that. I've been that route. But investing those 3 lanes. And so we just really want to bring an emphasis and some practical tips of how to run those 3 lanes really hard in life. And when you do those 3 lanes in life, it is a lot more fun, right? It is just, you can tackle anything because spiritually you're well, physically you're well, and then financially and stewardship wise, you're doing well.
I love it. JC and I always say that there's always something, anytime that we say yes to something, there's always things that we're saying no to, right? And so understanding the intention, behind those decisions that we're making and for the sake of what are we doing and what are we leaving behind? What are we saying no to? So that way we can really understand, is that aligned with the goals that we have in life? And it is so hard, like you're mentioning. I think having, accountability is number one, creating environments, where you're not tempted, to do other things that are going to detract, from the goals that you have. I think it's so crucial. So I'm excited for you to bring the sessions actually together. I'm curious, as you're talking about this focus on family and business, that's a lot of balancing that a lot of people are not exceeding at, right? They're not excelling at. What are simple, maybe like weekly practices that you have achieved that create a long-term, maybe like strength in family while you're also succeeding? And maybe you can just mention a couple of things that you're doing, because you look like a very fit person now. I know you just share your journey, but it looks.
But you only see from here up, right? That's all you're seeing.
From the neck up. You look great. And I know that you are supporting many business owners, just because obviously JC and you know each other. And so I'm curious if you have any tips for anybody that's watching live today.
Yeah, one of the things that we're really going to talk about is creating a cadence for your life. When we waste a lot of time thinking about doing things instead of doing them. And when we create a cadence in our life that allows us to reset, it's powerful. So I'm going to talk about daily cadence, weekly cadence, monthly cadence, annual cadence. And honestly, we run our life on it. And it's going to sound like, I have to tell people when I would preach, don't don't mistake my passion for perfection, because we don't have it all figured out. But we're very passionate about it. But so like, even like, when it comes to, the spiritual side, a husband and a father, right? I have a daily cadence. I have to spend time with the Lord every day. I have to spend time with my wife every day. I have to spend time with my kids every day. And I have certain times that we do that. And even every evening, our family, we have family devotion time. And it may be 5 minutes, it may be 20 minutes. And I know the excuses of having babies. I know the excuses of having distractions. I know the excuses of having soccer. Like, we've done our family devotions in our vehicle together on the way home, or we'll sing a worship song and someone will read a scripture. But it is our cadence that allows us to live life together as a family. Not only that, we have a cadence. Neely and I go on a date every Saturday for 2 hours. And back when we had little ones, our 2 hours was in the driveway in a car. It was just, it's whatever you had to do. But having a cadence where you never have a time period where you're not purposely investing. Have a cadence in business, how you run your meetings. We have, I have a cadence with the businesses that I own. I have a cadence that I do for my own business, like that I'm actually in. Of what we do weekly and what exactly we do during that time, the same agenda, same time, same place, so that I don't have to rethink it, because everything we rethink creates a new system. It's a new idea. It's a mess. We try to implement, we stand it up. Now let's just own a cadence, so that anything we are tackling, we're going to see it. And then physically, same thing. You have to have a cadence. You have to create a way for you to set a goal, to measure that goal and get it done. And if you have a cadence, whether that's a coach, whether that's whatever it is, I think that cadence is probably way oversimplifying it. But when you put something in place that makes you reset, I used to lead worship, and we wanted to introduce like background tracks to our music. And so we had a drummer who was a phenomenal drummer. And I asked him, hey, I need you to start playing to a metronome, right? It's that little thing that's in your ear that makes that noise over and over. And he's like, I will not play the metronome. I was like, why is that? He's going to kill my creativity. I'm not going to feel free. I'm just going to be playing straight. And I was like, no. And so I said, I'll tell you what, try it for 2 weeks. If you don't like it, I'll never ask you again. And actually, that's not true. I said, I'll ask you in a year. And so he's like, all right, agreed. So a week later, he comes to me and he's like, I love metronome. I love playing the click. And I was like, why is that? And he's like, I never knew there was so much opportunity between the first beat of one measure and the first beat of the next. He goes, not only that, I can try crazy stuff. And when that first beat comes back around, I can get right back in sync if I'm off pace. And I'm like, oh my gosh, life. Like, how beautiful to have a cadence in our life that I can get crazy for 3 or 4 days. I know the next Monday I'm going to have a meeting and get back on track. I can have a bad week and it doesn't turn into 13 weeks because I have a cadence. I can have a bad day of eating. Like, and I'll tell you, like a couple of weeks ago when it was 2 of my kids' birthdays, I mean, it was like, it's on. Like, who cares? Diet out the window. And I mean, that day, I not only eat like sweets I don't normally, I'm throwing down some serious chips and salsa and queso. I mean, just all the stuff I normally don't eat, but it's a day. And because I have a cadence, I don't fall into the old patterns. And in business, the same way. I may have a bad week. I may have sales that go down. I may lose a hard customer that I love. But when that cadence comes back around, I can reset and we can refocus and we can get out of the emotional of it. We can get back to de-risking and we can put a plan together and get it done.
I love it. Thanks, Ben, for this insights. I think they're going to be very useful for anybody that's watching that hasn't gotten their ticket. You need to get it. You need to be part of this room. I mean, I think just some of the topics that you have talked about are life-changing for a lot of people. And if, like accountability and having an environment that resets you is what you need today, this is going to be it. There's not going to be a better place to do that, especially at this time of the year. So go to scalestability.com/summit to get your ticket. And for those that already got their ticket, that are watching this and they're thinking, oh man, is this a session for me? Again, there's not a better chance to go into an environment where you can reset and have this opportunity for accountability. And I think you have prepared so many more things that we haven't even covered. I'm curious, Ben, just before we go, who are the sessions ideally for? Maybe you can give us, an expectation of like, if you're in this stage, maybe this session is for you. And if you're in this stage, maybe this other session is for you. I would love to give our attendees as many insights as possible.
Yeah, I mean, for the scaling to sell, or exit or whatever it's going to be, that one, I would say if you're a business owner, you need to be in there. Just because even if you're early on in business, building it from the beginning as a system not only makes it more valuable, but it'll give you more time and it'll give you more joy because you're putting things in place that allow you to really be in the seat that you're probably designed to be. So business owners, but also executive team members. I would say early, like an entrepreneur who's really set. I would say a dreamer would have a hard time in that room because, you just have to have some action in place, right? So that would be that first one. The other session is really about people who are finding themselves having to sacrifice something. The 3 lanes of life of how am I doing? I mean, it's like the questions Neil and I ask ourselves: how am I doing physically? How am I doing spiritually? How am I doing with my stewardship?
Yeah.
The truth is, all of us can look back in our life and we have a season where one's really failing, or we're feeling like we're not really meeting our personal expectations in an area of our life. I would say come be a part of it, because one of those 3 lanes, we're going to have some practical things that are going to prayerfully, like, really breathe some life into that area that God's given you to steward.
Well, I'm excited to see you, to spend time with you, and for everybody to be impacted in those 2 rooms that you're going to be hosting. Again, thank you so much for being part of this event. I definitely say that, none of this will be possible without the support and trust of everybody that's coming, not only to spend and invest their time, but also, what's going to happen afterwards. Because we really believe this is just the beginning of many opportunities for connections and impact, even after the event happens. So I appreciate you, and thank you for everybody watching. We cannot wait to see you guys in less than 15 days. This is crazy. So thank you guys, and hope you have a good rest of your week.